We won't worry about that. I'm so glad you're taking time out of your busy day to be with me today. I have a new passion to unlock the genius mind of the dyslexic child. And so I've been an educator going on 22 years now, and I've been a classroom teacher for 10. And I'll just share some of my credentials in the past as a tutor for 15 years. You know the value of having classroom experience as
Yes.
well as the degrees, two master's degrees, 2 credentials, special ed and general ed. I founded the nonprofit 3 years ago, and so we are just expanding. And I'm in an Orton Gillingham certification to bring my reading program to another level. And actually, I have a level 2 that I've developed. But what I'm doing is kind of unconventional because I use music. And so I've just published my number 2 and the number 3 books. Let me get a drink real quick here. So what I want to share, first of all, is how to unlock the child's genius by changing their energy from stress to excitement and playing music when they read. I learned that music has a soothing effect on the brain for anybody. When you want to rest at night, when you want to learn something, music helps. But also, I learned it helps to retrain the brain of the dyslexic child. I'm actually going to be conducting some research again, because the research shows that when a student who's dyslexic uses a multisensory reading program for a year and they do an MRI, that their brain will look like the brain of a non-dyslexic child, peer. But what I'm finding is we are making such fast results in the kids that I want to have the brain imaging done in only 16 weeks, and then have intervals from every 3, 6, 9, 12, have those intervals. And so what my research, so this is what I'm going to cover today. Takeaways from today, how we're going to unlock the child's genius, talk about music, how to build the student's self-esteem, and talk about praise and stickers, discovering your child's strength, watching their movements and recognizing their interests, learning stories about just dyslexic people who are geniuses. So it's not a bad thing to be dyslexic. It's actually a learning difference, not a disability. And so after I address all these, I'm going to allow for some questions, okay?
Okay.
So what I found was very interesting is Tchaikovsky and Bach and Beethoven, whenever there's stringed instruments, the string instruments actually resonate with the body and resonate with the brain, because string instruments resonate with water. And we have so much water in our bodies, in our brain. We're told to drink half our weight in water, which I can't do. But water and the stringed instruments have a phenomenal impact. And my research is based on the research of Dr. Roger Sperry. He won a Nobel Prize for his split brain theory. In the 1960s, he worked with 5 seizure patients, and he severed their central part of the brain, corpus callosum, and he worked with the left and the right sides of the brain independently. So in my doctorate research, I addressed the left and right angular gyrus, which I have in my little brain here. I actually have to take off the top part to find the left and right angular gyrus in there. And they're not ever, I never hear them talked about, but when I was in my Orton Gillingham 2-week training, our professor talked about the right and left angular gyrus and how information for language gathers at the angular gyrus. And so it really validated what I've been talking about for years. So if you think of a dyslexic person reading from the wrong side of the brain, so if the language center is in the left, as I have in this picture here, they're reading from the right side of the brain, and they're trying to read. So they're sending calp instead of clap, they're sending farm instead of from, or they're sending saw instead of was, and it's also passing across the corpus callosum, which we call a lazy referee. So what Dr. Sperry did with his brain research is he said, if educators could ever do what he did in the classroom, work with the left and the right sides of the brain independently, he felt we could help kids learn to read. What he didn't know was what somebody would try 20 years later, he got his Nobel Prize in the 80s. The woman who I learned from tried this in the 70s. She put music in the left ear, which went to the right side of the brain and gave it a job it likes to do, so that she could put spelling exercises in the right ear, which crossed to the left side of the brain at the same time. And it strengthens the left side of the brain, like Pilates of the brain. So she was the one who trained me. She's since passed away, but I'm carrying on her vision of music in one ear, spelling exercises in the right ear. Do you have any questions about that before I move on?
No, I'm listening.
Kind of different, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I understand the concept of about the music and dealing with the brain. Yeah.
Okay, so we always want it in the left ear. On rare occasion, I've had students listen in the right ear. And even when I worked at a non-public school, or I presented this at a non-public school, the principal told me, because the kids had a lot of emotional issues, she said, I always let them listen to music in my class. It calms them down. It has a real calming effect. And then if kids have ADHD, it does something to slow down that the attention that gets wandering, because it lets the brain know that something next is happening, and it really pulls them in. So the next bullet I wanted to address was building the child's self-esteem with positive affirmations, with praise, and with stickers. So I tend to have a personality that's an exhorter. So I'm always finding the best in people, telling them, good job, proud of you, you're working so hard, I'm so proud of you. But I know a lot of parents and teachers don't really feel comfortable doing that. And I just want to encourage you that it is something we need to do for students. One thing I noticed, because I'm the creator of my reading program, and in my art in Gillingham, I am continually writing sentences. I will put my students' names in the sentences, and oh, they love that. But I like to give them personalized folders, so that I have one where I keep their originals in, and I send, and then they take one home that they put their copies in when they get their 80% or above on their test. I also have these little charts that, I just started this year because I'm getting younger and younger students, or I'm getting students who have a harder time attending or focusing. So one student needs a sticker after every step, and my reading program has 9 steps. So he can hardly wait to do the step and put a sticker. But this other little boy going into second grade, I decided to give him a chart, and I put his name up here, and he loves it, and I stick it in his binder, and he gets a sticker at the end of every session. And then I also have a binder, and I put their name on it. And I know in the past we put names and we've really decorated, and the kids love that. They love to see the special attention given to them. And I wanted to see, Beverly, do you do stuff like that already? You probably do, right?
Yes, I'm virtual right now.
Okay.
So not person to person. I used to be until the pandemic, but I'm virtual right now. I always had a prize for them, so that when they finish the week, I give them a little reward and silly little stuff that I get from the Oriental Trading Company, or I can pick something up. And yes, I'm big into rewards, and yes, I don't use the word hard, difficult. I use tricky. It's tricky, or could get a little sticky what you're doing.
Yes.
Always leave affirmations.
That's really good.
Never set them say this is going to be hard. Because
Do
they hear
you,
that.
yeah, do you notice that kids will come to you and just they've had a bad day or they're so tired, and it's our job to pick them up, right?
Right, right, absolutely.
It's like
Most-
we
and
both
it's-
have the same kind of morning, so let's make the rest of the day great.
Right.
They don't realize that we go through what they go through.
Yeah,
And
that's
changing those words. And what do you want your day to be like? We want it to be successful. We want it to be a learning day.
right.
And I've had, if a child struggles with something, I'll even share, another student couldn't believe this program is going so fast. I asked her, why do you think it's going fast? And she said, I'm just having fun. And I know I'm learning to read. So just for a student to know what another student is feeling helps pick up their positive feeling.
And sometimes I share with my kids that, you're learning something that a lot of other kids are not ever going to learn.
And that's so true. I've even had parents say, I never knew that grammar trick.
Right.
I had a little second grader who didn't know his letter names and sounds. And we taught him his letter names and sounds and some grammar tricks. And he used to think his baby sister was smarter than him.
Oh,
And now
yeah.
he's a homeschool child. So now that he knows some grammar tricks, he was writing them on the whiteboard at home. And his confidence is just up there. And now he's going into fourth grade. He's still in our program. He's going into fourth grade and he's reading at a fifth grade level and comprehending at a sixth grade level.
Oh, terrific.
And so we're so proud of him. So one thing you mentioned with the weekly awards, what I find is when students come for tutoring with me, we guarantee that they're going to make 1 to 3 year gains in only 25 sessions. But parents don't want to stop. They want to keep on going. So I don't post test them until I'm really ready to move them to my next level. So I will send a certificate. You've completed 25 sessions, or because it is Zoom also for several of them, or I'll send a certificate after I post test them and they've made 3 year gains or they're reading at a fifth grade level. And I'll send that in a certificate. And also I'll send like a $5 Burger King card. And I've had parents just take pictures of their children with what I send them. And I celebrate the holidays. So, if I send them something at Easter or Christmas, their parents take pictures of them opening stuff up. And yeah, and I just love to see their joy. And I even have a student who waits until the next Zoom meeting to open up her stuff because she wants me to experience it with her.
Right. Oh, that's great.
So that's kind of cute. Okay. So then the next one is discovering your child's strengths by watching his or her moves and recognizing their interests. So my son and daughter were not dyslexic, but as a parent, I noticed that my daughter was really drawn to the medical field at a young age. And she actually is a nurse in neurotrauma at UCLA right now. And I noticed my son was always good with building and blocks and Legos. And his dad's an engineer by trade, not by degree, but his half brother is an engineer. So we encouraged him towards college, get that degree. But after 5 years, he didn't want it. He couldn't pass calculus 3. And he's so good with math, but calculus 3 was this monster to him. And he's now a crane operator, being outdoors, and he's working with, measurement, and he's always making suggestions. Well, why don't you wrap that around twice and you could lift up more, things that the other crane operators wouldn't even think about. There's a story that I learned about Jillian Lynn. She was a little third grader and they called her Wigglebottom. And her mom was so worried that she wasn't reading and writing and took Jillian to the doctors to find out if something was wrong in her brain. So the doctor talked to Jillian and put her in a large room and turned on the music and walked away and said, I'm going to talk to your mom. I'll be right back. Well, what they did was they looked in the window and Jillian began dancing. And the doctor told the mother, there's nothing wrong with your daughter. She just needs to be moving. She's a dancer. And so the mother advocated for her daughter, got her involved with dancing. And when Jillian was 21, she became the lead dancer in Snow White for the Royal Opera House. And when she was 50 years old, so I didn't say this was in the 1930s.
Okay.
So when she was 50 years old, she was approached by the directors of two famous musicals to be the lead choreographer of Cats and Phantom of the Opera.
Oh my gosh.
So here is a picture of Jillian Lynn. She passed away in 2018 at the age of 93.
Oh my.
What a legacy she's given us. And I have a girl on my board, Christina Bacour. She won the title of Miss Yosemite Valley, and she's a dyslexic advocate. She's dyslexic, and she wants to be a veterinarian. She graduated from UC Davis, and she's applied to veterinary graduate schools. And she said her parents always had her around pets, which I did with my kids. I'd take them to the pet shop, let them interact with the pets anyway, because it's fun and cute. But this really nurtured something that Christina wanted to do. And so she's going to be a veterinarian, and she's running for Miss California. So we're excited to follow her progress this summer.
Thanks.
So do you have any stories you might want to, do you have any questions or thoughts on that?
No, I just know that I always advocate for the kids too. If they have a sport or something that they're interested in and good at, that they really need to make sure the kids are doing something other than what's academic and whatever is their personal interest or what they're more talented at, because they need something positive in their life.
Yeah. And, I used to work in a school district where the students were actually allowed to sit on the tables because they were stable. And they were always encouraged to sit in the chairs, the beanbag chairs or the pillow chairs, because they need to move. Dyslexic kids need movement, and they need to be asking questions, and they need to just be encouraged. So I was fascinated when I saw a school that did that. It was a charter school.
Yeah, have to be.
Yeah. So the next area is learning stories about dyslexic people. So people who are still alive. Steven Spielberg is dyslexic, and also Tim Tebow is dyslexic for your athletes that you teach. For them to know that they could be a sports person, they could be in the movies. There's a lot of actors, Tom Cruise, Whoopi Goldberg, Cher Bono. And not too many people know that Walt Disney was dyslexic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people in the past really get my attention. So one thing I learned was 35% of entrepreneurs in the United States are dyslexic.
Right.
And then 40% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic. So it's interesting that I've learned that dyslexic people excel in the arts, in engineering, in entrepreneurism, and in architecture. So if they need degrees, then we have the way to support them to get the extra time on their test, answer fewer questions. So these are the people I've already shared. Now, this is what I really have fun looking at. Leonardo da Vinci used to write in script backwards. And I met a woman recently who also does that. And she said when she was a young girl, she had to write in script backwards, but face it up to the mirror to read what she wrote to study for the tests.
Oh my gosh.
And I asked her, can you explain any of that? She said, I can't explain it, why I had to read it normally, but I would write it backwards. And so all Leonardo da Vinci's creations were stored in an attic when he died. and somebody took them all down. And here in California at the Ronald Reagan Museum, they had a Leonardo da Vinci room. I don't know if they still have it, but not only did he paint the Last Supper and the Mona Lisa, he was involved with the pedals for organ music and, flying machines like an airplane, but it wasn't the airplane, but flying machines. And just such a talented man, genius.
A unique mind.
Yes. And then look at, Albert Einstein. If we didn't have electricity, Henry Ford, who, the car, and then Winston Churchill, if we didn't have statesmen and politicians, leaders who are dyslexic, they are very creative, good at multitasking. And this cracked me up because we learned that Steve Jobs was dyslexic, but Alexander Graham Bell was too.
Right.
So our two phone inventors were dyslexic. And I think if we can share this with our students, now I'm in a network where I'm meeting a lot of adults who are dyslexic that just said, I wish I had someone to teach me reading when I was younger, because they really had to fight a lot and work so hard. But I have an engineer friend who is a surgeon. I'm not an engineer friend. I have a surgeon friend. I have an engineer friend who he designs high performance cars. And guys who are web creators, website game creators, and entrepreneurs that help people network. And it's just, so we do have a lot of dyslexic adults. And letting kids know those statistics, I think, would be really helpful. What do you think?
Absolutely. They need to understand that there's an end to all this, and that there are some people that they've heard about that have risen above their deficits that other kids have, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, that's right. Rise above those challenges, right?
Absolutely. It's tough, but it's hard to get times to understand that.
So then the last area that I address on my cheat sheet is remembering that dyslexia is not a learning disability, but it's a learning difference. And what I just love is that the brain in its plasticity can be retrained. And we're always trying to retrain our brains, how we think, how we eat, how we think about exercising. So why not how we read?
Right.
And we know that if there's a multisensory approach to reading, that's what's going to be engaging for all students, because you work into their strength as well as to their weakness.
Right.
So what I wanted to do you have any other comments about that or questions?
No, pretty much everything you've stated, I'm very familiar with.
Yes, okay. And so what I wanted to do was show you step 2 and step 3 of my reading program. And this is not a sales workshop. It's strictly to let you know what we're doing and also show you how the music works with the reading program. So what I do, so there's 9 steps to the reading program. And we have books, book 1A, book 1B, and book 1C, which are the main books we start with. And step 1, we use phonogram cards. So you're familiar with phonogram cards and the picture that goes with it. So step 2, we use circles. And what I do is go to my spelling list, and I'm going to flip my screen. Yeah, okay. I give everybody a little bag like this with some circles that have colors on both sides. So I start with my spelling exercise number 1, and I say the word bed, and then I have a student repeat the word bed. Hold on a second. I've been tutoring all morning. So are you going to walk away? Or are you going to, okay, because if you walk away, I can't show you.
No, my battery just came up low.
Oh, okay. So what I do is we say the word and the student repeats it. And we say bed and they say bed. We tap it out. We use one finger per sound. B, e, d. Then we pull the circles down and the light color is the vowel. So we go b, e, d. And then we also want to point and say it again. B, e, d. And we underline it and say bed. So then I'm going to make a substitution. And I just write in I have my book right here. I just put some other letters like T and what other, T and R. So I know when I'm doing this that I could substitute the first letter. So we say, okay, so the word is bed. Bed becomes red. And the child repeats, bed becomes red. We say the B goes away and the comes down. And then we point again, ed, red. Now mine is mirrored. So I go backwards to let them follow.
Right.
Then I say red becomes Ted. Red becomes Ted. So the goes away and the T comes down. And we point and say T, e, d, Ted. And then we clean this off, and I kind of do this because it's going to be a new word. The next word is hat. So I ask them, say hat, and they say hat. We tap it out, h, a, t, hat. Pull the circles down for the sounds, h, a, t. And then we point, h, a, t, hat. Hat becomes mat, and they say hat becomes mat. The h goes away and the m comes down and we point at mat. Now mat becomes sat and they repeat mat becomes sat. Take the m away and put s and we point and say at sat. Good job. We empty it and then we're ready for the next word. So that is, I do 5 words because each word's going to have 2 different substitutions. And as the student's ready for ending sounds or even the vowel sound, you're going to know because every student is different and some have a harder time. And when they get it so fast, then I go to the harder one. And also what I'm looking for is automaticity of them to do it without me doing it. So
Right.
That's really nice. So I'm going to put those away. Do you have any questions on that?
No, I'm fine.
I think the program, I'm not going to say what it is, but I believe the program you're using is very similar. I had to do a little test with it because our school district was given it. And I had to do the test to see if I was capable of using it, and I was. So I know it's very similar. And then the school sold it back and got something else. So things are always changing. Gosh. So the second step of my reading program is the letters. Now, this is what really is unique about my reading program because what I do, okay, I'm just going to back up. Usually, for level 2, we're going to use the sound circles for the spelling exercise words and for the letters. But in the beginning, for the first 15 to 25 sessions, we're not doing that. We might use the letters for the spelling list later. I don't know if that sounds confusing. But how I start off is I have the student A, E, I, O, U, and then we move the E to the bottom so that we separate it. And I'm going to turn this around to you. So we do this every day for about 15 to 20 sessions. A, E, A, E. And then my scope and sequence tells me what letters to pull out each day. So for the first day, and we can do this for lessons for day 2 or 3, as many as the student needs, but after doing it 3 times, we'll go to the next group of letters. So this is really cool. And even though I'm learning in Orton Gillingham that they don't do this, this really works. And so I feel, why fix it if it's not broken? This really helps, it helps the kids get it. So we put the letter in front and then behind. And we teach them the vowel opens your mouth, but the consonant closes it. So they say ta, at, ti, it, ta, ot, ta, ut, te, et. And I don't know if you could see that good enough.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, and then we'll do the D, da, ad, di, id, da, od, da, ud, de, ed, and so forth. We'll do the P, and then I'll do the B. And it seems kind of interesting to do all of them together when a lot of times with Orton Gillingham, you want to separate them. But again, it works. It just lets the child see the visual with it. And so then what I also do in the beginning is I teach the C and the G have hard and soft sounds. And so what I teach, if the student's ready for it, I'm going to isolate the E and the I. And we're going to talk about the G has a G sound with A, O, and U. So we could go in front and behind. Ga, ag, ga, og, ga, ug. And then the C, we're just going to put in front because this is when it has a K sound. So we say ka, ka, ka. But when the C and the G are followed by the E, I, and the Y, suddenly the C has a sound. So it's si, se, si for cycle. And then the G has a soft sound. J, j, j for Jim. So I'll introduce that. And with my phonogram cards, I'll gradually bring in the CE, the CI, the CY, the Gs. And also I have grammar tricks where I teach with a slingshot how when a C and a G are followed by E, I, and Y, it makes it say the softer sound, J or S. So there's a bunch of different things we teach right up front to emphasize the C and the G. Then something else we do with our plastic letters, rather than go to the spelling list, we do what we call anagrams. So in my phonics reader, there's a page where there's 4 letters, and the student takes those 4 letters and has to figure out what the vowel, let me see, hold on a second. I want to be sure I grab the right vowel here. Let's see. Yeah, I needed an A. I knew that wasn't right. Okay. Oh, I was doing the second one. Oh, wait, yes. Oh, well, oh, this is gonna, it was, okay. So G, U. Okay, this is my U. So we will have, we tell them the vowel is second. So, you know, I probably shouldn't have picked this word, right? Guns.
Oh, well.
G-U-N-S. And then I ask them, we'll change some of the letters around. Sometimes they struggle with that, but I'll tell them that the S can be a blend. So if we had S-N, it gets followed by the vowel S-N-U-G. And then we have, it's upside down, so it's kind of taxing on me. Hold on one second. We have snug, we have guns, and we have one more. Let me find it. Oh, sung. So we have the S and the U and the NG. So sometimes if the kids struggle with where to put the S, I'll remind them of the blend. And so we actually have 11 sets of anagrams, and we do 3 at a session. And the kids really love this. And then another thing we do with the letters, rather than do the spelling words, we do the A, E, I, O, U again. I flip it. We put the E at the bottom. And now we're going to do blends. So I'll have them pull the letters that are going to be these blends. And we're going to start with SL. And they're just going to say sla, sli, sla, sla, sla. Then they're going to do SC. And I just teach them it's sk. So it's ska, ski, ska, ska, ska. Then we have them get the SM. And I love the colors. They love the texture, the bigness of the letters. So they're going to say sma, smi, sma, sma, smeh. Then we have them do the N. Sna, sni, sna, sna, sna. So I just love this, and the kids love it. It's so engaging. After they finish, we have about 16 that go before the vowels, and then I have some that go after the vowel, and then I have some that go in front and behind, like SK and SH. After they finish that, then the letters are used with the spelling list. After you do the sound circle with the spelling list words, you do the letters, and you move to the spelling test. So I wanted to show that to you.
Okay.
Very different, right?
Yes.
But it works, and I love it. So the last thing I wanted to do was I wanted to actually share with you the app and what it seems like. So the app is called CDSM, for Cintron Dyslexia Solutions with Music. And it's free up to 5 exercises. And it's on a web app. Can you see my screen? Can you still see it? Let me redo it because it goes away, I think. There you go. Do you see it?
Okay, I got it. I got it.
So on the web app, this name is in the process of being updated to CDSM. But when you click on the music, I have the student listen in the left ear, and the music's they're gonna use it when they do the workbook, which is actually step 6, but also in step 4 when they do reading of the phonics. So, can you hear that?
Not yet.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, play it on my phone. Isn't that pretty?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just have 7 minutes of music that just plays. And then I'll show you what spelling exercise 1 is. And I'll have students that need to break this up. It's 50 words of consonant, vowel, consonant, so CVC words. And I had a student yesterday that did all 50 of them beautifully. He had to skip 3 different ones, but he got an 80, he was able to pass. So
Okay.
I'll play this one for you. This is spelling exercise number 1. The first word is bed, bed, bed. Number 2 is hat, hat, hat. Number 3 is lid, lid, lid. Number 4 is rim, rim, rim. Number 5 is... Isn't that sweet?
Very, very.
Yeah, so I have 28 exercises. By the time the student gets to exercise 10 and 11, I move them to my level 2, which is more of the Orton Gillingham one sound at a time, you know, the vowel team of OU, or the ED says to. I focus on those individual words. So when I'm using the circles, all the words will be ED, and, you know, ED sounds like to, or all the words will be, you know, AY at the end of a word says A. So that's the uniqueness when you get to like 10, 11, and 12. And then I still want to use and so the circles will use that, and the letters will use it. And then my teaching will use the special sound, you know, AY at the end of a word, but I'll also integrate exercise 11, exercise 12, because there's so much value to the way, this is before I knew Orton Gillingham the way I know it now. And we still got such great results with it. So I don't want to lose the value of the music in the left ear and the spelling exercise in the right. And even though these exercises I break up into maybe sets of 5 or 10, and I also might provide spelling pages where I'm giving the beginning sounds and they have to complete the word. And then I provide the ending sounds and they say the beginning words. But these are a lot of review words, but they're just really cool. And then one more thing I want to show you is what the reading looks like, okay?
Okay.
And so I call it, it's my phonics reader. And when I find the right page, I had it enlarged and I don't know how to make it smaller. But this is what's so fun. So I'm going to stop my share and reshare it. So this is when I'll have the student play music in the left ear. So they're going to say these words, and this is where only the vowel changes. Bed, bad, bid, bud. Bag, beg, big, bug. Cab, cob, cub. And it's very similar to how they're already manipulating the circles and the letters. So now they're just seeing it in print.
Right.
Okay, so that's how it starts. And then I love this because it goes from 3 letters to 4. And it's another way to bring in the blends, because I know with Orton Gillingham, you teach one at a time, right? But look what we're doing here. You have 3 letters. Knob, you add an S, snob. Cot, scot. Cat, scat. Nub, snub. Pan, span. It's a beautiful way, I believe, to introduce a consonant team. And the kids get it. And a lot of times they wonder, why did I learn this earlier? Because this makes so much sense. So that's a fun page. Now, before the student can take the spelling test, they need to master page 5. And I'm just going to show you what page 5 is. Oops. Oh, so that was page 5. And then it also has like this, where the S is at the end of the word, or the S is inside the word, because the dyslexic child gets these letters out of order all the time or forgets to put them. So this is building that neural pathway to remind them: cat, cast, cats. The S can be 2 ways, and it's okay, depending on the context. And
Right.
all of them have the same model of the S is at the end of a word or it's inside the word. And then we have questions, which I love. This is similar to the Orton Gillingham, I'm glad, because you have a sentence, you have them sound out the words, and then ask them a question. Do you know what being snug like a bug in a rug means? And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Do you know what? So the other day I asked the student, okay, Ned was glad his mom did not get mad at him. Then I'll ask a student, did anything ever happen in your life where you were glad your mom didn't get mad, but she could have gotten really mad at you? And oh, they laugh, and yes. Sometimes they'll share with me, sometimes they won't. But this gets them speaking, and it's helping comprehension. After they finish, this is my push. I try to get them to read up to page 5. Rarely is it done in 5 sessions. Sometimes they'll get to a half of a page, and sometimes people will get a page and a half. So my new student actually got to page 5 on the 3rd session. So he was able to take the spelling test with the music app on his 3rd day with me. So that is that's the example of several of the steps of our reading program.
Okay, I'm interested about the music. That was interesting to have them playing the music while they're working on your activities.
Yeah, so if I could get back to my PowerPoint, this is just where I want to end. So this was showing you the different parts of the reading program. We start with the phonogram cards that have key concept pictures that go with them. And the students know their letter names and sounds when they come to us, because we start with 2nd grade mostly. And then, so maybe they know the vowel A, but not the other vowels. So we have pictures for those, but we go into consonant LE words, vowel teams, suffixes. So then we have the circles is step 2, the letters are step 3, and I have the 9-step program. The reading is step 4, the workbook. We do some whiteboard activities, which are steps 5 and 7. But you know what I really like about this, Beverly? It's easy to train and it's easy to learn. And when you're doing lesson planning, it takes 5 minutes to plan for your next session. And I don't know how easy it is for you with your program that you're using. I know Orton Gillingham has 100 hours of practicum that I'm in, but it's 100 hours of planning as well.
Right.
So it is just remarkable, and it's wonderful stuff, but not everybody has a whole year to be trained.
No.
So these are my new books. I have them on ebook on Amazon. A Message of Hope, How Music Enhances Reading for Dyslexic Children. I published in 2018. And just this month, I put out Prisms of Brilliance. And this says no illiteracy here. This is Closing the Achievement Gap and Stopping the School to Prison Pipeline. And then this one is Dyslexia, a Trait of Genius. And I got so excited creating this, I even saw it on a t-shirt. So I created a t-shirt for people. And this is just unlocking the brilliant mind of your dyslexic child. So if you think you want to have another conversation to talk about any of this, here's my phone number. You can take a picture of it.
Okay.
But if you have any other questions, we have about 5 minutes.
No, I'm fine. This has been interesting. I appreciate you doing this.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of new for me. It's not the sell. It's just letting people know what the program is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good luck on that.
Okay. Thanks so much. And I wish you the best too.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me, Beverly.
Bye.
Okay, bye.